I'll actually say this, but you have literally fallen for that BS without ever questioning what's been said to you whatsoever. Anyway, hello out there in spray wash land. Hope everybody is doing well.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, out in
Douglas,
spray wash land.
how are
Yeah,
you
I'm
doing tonight?
trying to fix my deal here too. So
Now, you guys understand that if y'all have ever wanted to hear a show that's off the cuff, this show is off the cuff
because it is what it is.
well, like Karen Carpenter said, rainy days and Mondays always get me down. Well, she'd have started a Glock today if she was in Tallahassee because it was a rainy Monday.
Was it? It was beautiful here.
Oh, it was brutal.
Got the truck running really nice and took it out on the road.
It rained. Good night, buddy. I love you. You come see me whenever you're done. Come see me. So yeah, it was, and I had emergency repairs and kind of honestly thought it'd be a fairly slow day, but it was just absolutely insane. So
that's surprising because I mean we didn't get any rain here at all. I mean I don't even think it was. I don't even think it threatened, for rain. So that was awesome. Yeah. So the title is because of look at the doggy in the background. So we had a washer that had contacted us about a doggy death. And we wanted to talk about it a little bit because this is actually something that we're going to be covering in the HOA class at the huge convention this year, or one of the topics of it, just because. So I'll set the scene of basically what happened. So this contractor was hired by an HOA to clean an area, a length of area. And so in that process, he worked out with them that they would give all the notices to all of the HOA members. Okay. So he, that process goes about, and he goes and he does the job, and then a couple days later he gets a phone call about some dead plants or some problem plants or something to that nature. And so he establishes that y'all were supposed to send out the notice, and the HOA was like, well, yeah, we put it on Facebook. So they didn't actually send out notices, they just put it in the Facebook group. So then he says, okay, you got to send out notices for me to continue. And so apparently they do whatever. But then he gets the phone call that a dog has passed away because there was a dog in the area of which he was cleaning. And so it was on the other side of something he was cleaning. And he was using.
But it was that area that he was cleaning was still part of the HOA.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And all of this is dealt with in the HOA. And so, he goes, and let's say, I think it was one of the hotter days that we had here to start, 90-degree day. The dog was on the other side of the thing he was cleaning, and in a kennel. And so he was locked up with those fumes, probably. Come to find out in the end so far that the homeowner complained about the dog passing away, asked for his insurance and his company name. And then now they can't even find that there was a dead dog. So the story's getting bigger and bigger and all that kind of stuff. But it brings us full circle back around to something we've talked about before. We've had attorneys in here before, and, it's in his terms of service. But is that good enough? And is that the saga, I think, will play out. We'll find out what the insurance company says, probably, unless there is no dead dog. But apparently there is a dead dog. And so we'll hopefully find out how it plays out. But this isn't necessarily just about the doggy in the window. This is about what you have in your terms of service and then we're just going to have general chit chats, whatever. So,
well, and it's funny you talk about the terms of service, and I know there's people out there selling terms of service agreements. Yeah. You don't have to tape anything. A terms of service is going to be only as good as your lawyer or your insurance company. Bailey, come here. And I mean, and you cannot terms of service away negligence on your part. And we've spoken to attorneys about this before, and you can sit there and say that, but if you don't uphold yourself to industry standards, and if you don't,
and the problem is, what is the industry standard? Right.
But, well, I tell you what, the industry standard isn't killing an animal or burning a house down, or exactly. Things that we happen to people, or changing color on paint. And whenever then something that's going to be found where you're negligent on something, your terms of service that you've had is not going to hold up worth a flip with anybody that's you might be able to BS some poor schlub that you're charging $200 to, and it says it right here on Article 7, subparagraph B. You might be able to do that. I mean, and suing someone's expensive, but if you've actually caused some catastrophic type damage on there, you're going to have a real hard time ever letting anybody's signing away your liability for negligent behavior.
Well, one of the things that,
and I'm not saying that's what happened to the dog at all.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No. But here's the side of that. And I told him, I said, the insurance company, whether they feel right or wrong, more likely than not, will just write a check, because at the end of the day, that's like that's even more than a family member in a lot of cases, right? It's not like you killed a family. I mean, you killed more than a family member in their mind's eye, whether it was your fault or not, so it's that kind of thing. So the terms of service, and I think, when we had an attorney on here, I think he had said that, it's that little box. They have to, in order to really enforce that, they have to check a box. You can't just have it in your terms of service, because they're going to say they didn't read it. You can't just say, by accepting this email, our work, you're accepting the terms of service. You have to actually have them check a box, according to the attorney that we had on here. And is that going to matter?
Then,
yeah, it's not.
Even then, you can't behave negligently and still get away with stuff. I saw.
So what do you think? Think about that for a second, though, Ray. And I know that this person's either watching or going to be watching. Okay, and who's at fault? In your opinion, thinking about it logically, who's at fault here? And this might
the washer.
So that's kind of where I feel a little bit too, and we discussed that, because if you rely solely on them to do something, okay, so what could you have done? And look, we're not blaming the washer. I'm not blaming the washer, but I'm saying this is where we have to educate ourselves and learn what we can do, what we should do. This is why I'm kind of pitching going to our, HOA class at the huge convention. But things like this come up, okay? Whose fault is it? Yeah, to me, it's kind of the washer's fault in one realm of it. And he's going to hate to hear that. I know that, but I think I said that. But here's the deal with that they said they were going to send out notice. Okay. What can you do as the washer to make sure everybody's getting notice? Right. So a couple of things. Well, can you include me in the email? You can write up the notice and make them sign that they gave it to everybody, and make sure you're having an open discussion with them, that they're not just putting it on Facebook, that it actually
exactly in their mind they've done their due diligence of posting it on posting it on Facebook, and we'll get a lot more into this and actually give examples at the class and what notices should look like, and the best way to put them out, and all of this great stuff. But So here's what happened, and God knows, but between the three of us teaching this class, we have literally done thousands, if not tens of thousands of HOA doors, between the three of us. And yeah, it'd be tens of thousands. Even an email. Okay, a Facebook group. Yay, not everybody's on Facebook. Oh, we're going to send everybody, an email. I'll tell you what, email isn't good enough either, because if, let's say that you're in a townhome neighborhood, where, that's a 20-year-old neighborhood that was a big first-time buyer type neighborhood, and the first-time buyers have kept it as an investment property because they bought it as FHA financing to start with. Then they went and bought a second home, or then they got married, they moved out of their townhouse, bought a bigger house, kept this property to go, because you can get an FHA mortgage like once every 5 years or whatever. We've now moved out and we've kept it, and we have renters in there.
And
okay.
And their next door neighbors are on vacation. They're on a cruise.
And you've got the owner's thing, but there's no proof that even if the HOA sends out a message to the email to the owners, that they're going and sending it to the tenants themselves. Hell, I look at my email. I mean, I'm looking here at my little blue box on my laptop. I've got 104,000 emails that I have not read. 104,485. I mean, you cannot.
Half of those are from me.
What's that?
Half of those are from me.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, but we can't assume that people are seeing their emails. I mean, it's horrible in that respect. You can't assume that we've got the correct email. We can't assume, there's a ton of things that we can't just go and assume. So we've got to be more proactive on doing stuff like that.
Well, just like in the case of what, like when we go on vacation, if we take time off, we go away, right?
Right.
We have our animals that we have a friend and neighbor come over and take care of our animals and watch the place and that kind of thing. So imagine that we're gone on vacation and we take an extended vacation, and we get the email, but we're nowhere near. We can't get cell service. We don't. I'm not checking my emails regularly. I'm not, none of that kind of stuff. We're doing whatever it is that we're doing and having a good time, right? So our animal is still there and still outside, and so how do you get noticed to people? When do you get noticed to people? And all these different things you really should think about. Now, the death of an animal is uncommon, but it's not uncommon. I can say that right now, I know of 4 washers that have, I don't want to say killed an animal, but have been blamed. Actually, it's more than that if you talk about fish. And
honestly, if we're talking about dogs right here, of 4, and at least one of them.
Well, I know one person that knocked off 2
at one time.
Wonder who that could be.
Well, it was a couple of days apart, but anyhow,
that's
going back. So much of what we talked about is experience. Here what we've done. Why did we write plant and property protection? Because
we killed stuff,
a bunch of stuff.
It's not that we killed stuff. It's that we destroyed lots of things.
Yeah. Not just killing.
Yeah. Some stuff, not that it necessarily survived, but we learned how to restore things because we damaged them. We learned how to replace things because we damaged them, and
we learned how to buy things because we killed them. But it's going back. Somebody in Spray Wash Academy tonight, I noticed, and they had posted. I saw that. I can't remember who it is, but very competent washer, and they made the comment, look, every now and then, sometimes despite your best efforts, despite protecting and doing that, and somehow a solution is going to get past your barriers, and you're going to fry a plug. And what do? I saw that Rich Sashon, he had made a comment on it. Yeah, we do the same thing, and it's not a thing where you're never gonna, bad things aren't ever gonna happen, but it's absolutely true. I mean, but you've got to at least show it. And a person had made the comment that said, we usually find out that it was improperly wired. If the GFI doesn't trip, that usually, and it burns and fries, it's not that it was our fault really, because it was improperly wired GFI to begin with. Now, that being said, still the crap, usually
Who tucks it last?
Usually speaking, it's going to be the fault of the last person that touched it, especially when we're talking about something that's $10,000 or less. And that $10,000 is that magic area of where the insurance company is going to pay out and they're going to drop you, and even if it's your fault or not, because they know that defending against anything is going to cost them more than $10,000.
Oh, absolutely. That's why they just write the check.
So they write a check, even if the person is, just had a very good friend here in Tallahassee, went, got dropped on his insurance, no fault of this, literally had proof that the guy is defrauding, making a fraudulent insurance claim, and he's an attorney, and it's still, wound up. We
had the same thing. We were being sued over some issues that, first of all, it was some plant death, and secondly, it was some concrete damage. And the plant death, it was 4 months after our washing, and it was right after 2, not 1, but 2 record freezes in Baton Rouge, right? And then his plants die, and so it's my fault. And then his concrete was spotted because it's concrete. And so the insurance company was like, look, they wrote him a check for $25,000, which surprised me because the plant life itself realistically was probably $50,000 worth of replanting, if you think about it. And it's a big multi-million-dollar house kind of a thing. But anyhow, so, he took the check for $25,000. They wrote the check for $25,000 because to them, no matter what, even though we had plenty of proof and all that kind of stuff, it didn't matter because it was just cheaper to write a check. That's it. That's all they looked at was it was cheaper to write a check.
All right, off subject. Come here, buddy.
Guys, I have a simple question I don't have an answer to. My tech is a hard worker and is very particular to the point I need him to speed up. What to do? So my tech is a hard worker and is very particular to the point that I need him to speed up. My first initial reaction is promote him and give him more money. That's going to sound like counterproductive. But you're seeing his value, and maybe it's time to raise prices for him. I don't know how many crews we have. I don't know who this is that we're talking to, but that's the initial thought that pops into my head, because if he's taken, how many people do you have? How many crews do you have? Or is it just you and him? And that's kind of why you need him to speed up, because it's the two of you and you've got nothing else going on. I like what somebody else is saying here. Coach him to maybe get him up to speed. You're going to have to give us a little bit more information than that too. Like, what is it that he's focusing on? Because it sounds like he's particular and he's doing a really good job is kind of what I'm getting out of it. And you're trying to ask him, not to do such a great job.
See, and I'm going to go a different tact on that. I'm going to say, I think there's 2 words that you need to say to him, and that's speed up. Because you're the arbiter of what a good job is as the owner, not necessarily that employee. And sometimes you have.
He is saying it's just the 2 of them.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to explain to the employee or even to ourselves. Take this as a yes, they all see you, Feb. take this as a part of, a little self-criticism, on ourselves. But I learned, you remember, Doug, we would talk about, you've sat here and worked on a job. I mean, and there was a stain on the grout, and you literally took the toothbrush and go down there.
You were going for it, and the homeowner was totally thrilled with it.
That you're just going to make it. You want to deliver a 10 out of 10, and
you want to deliver a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, and the homeowner comes home and says, "Yeah, looks great, guys. Thanks, appreciate it." And you just almost get your but the grout.
But I did.
And what winds up happening here is we usually blow these customers' minds so much with what we do that we can really, and I'm not saying slack off, but our striving to deliver a 10 out of 10 so many times blows their mind because they're happy with a 7 or an 8. I mean, and we're really wasting the extra 2 or 3 by going that extra mile. And this sounds awful that I'm saying, okay, don't go the extra mile, but at the same time, understand that the extra mile might be really, really good for some people, but it's not necessarily owed to everybody because we already are going the extra mile just by the amazing job that we do, and we don't have to do the super amazing job.
Yeah, I think that's going to be hard to get. I mean, so to me, that's it's different because it's also an employee, right? So most of the time, it's the exact opposite with the employee, where you're trying to get them to do a better job, not necessarily a worse job. And how do you take somebody that's maybe taking pride or looking for perfection in his job and try to tame him down? I mean, absolutely right. And trying to point him in some different directions and all that, but maybe sitting down and explaining to him why it's important that he speeds up a little bit, or that why it is that he does, not that he's necessarily cutting corners, but I'm leaning towards the guy needs to maybe, I mean, my brain is immediately going to, he needs to run his own truck and have somebody working with him, higher price tags. And
I'm like what Scott says right here. I had to learn not to overdo it, so to speak. Spending time on things.
How do you get an employee not to do it? Because it's rare for an employee to overdo it.
It's costing him time and therefore money. Mm-hmm. And that does, remember, time is money. I want to go back up to this one too that says, absolutely done to the little things. Guys were laying poly today. The customer's hose burst. Totally not their fault. Bought the customer hose $25. $25 happy customer. No bad taste in there. And you know what? If you're doing a $99 house, it's a quarter of your overall ticket that you've just. If you're doing a $400 house, it's 5%. Big difference in the economics of that.
Mm-hmm. That's more than 5%, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't degrade a perfect tech to have him run a crew. I mean, I'm kind of going there too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that could be a performance pay to leads and techs and have a time bonus or a productivity bonus or something. And and gosh, you don't want to instill bad habits, but I get what you're saying, Doug, and also what Sterling's saying here. You don't want to.
You want him to speed up, but you don't want him to cut quality.
You don't want to sacrifice quality, but that's why I think sometimes on that talking about the doing it on the numerical scale of, you are giving him an 11. We need to give him a 10, or you're giving him a 12. And give the employee a rough estimate of how long it should take per. The quickest techs tend to kill the most plants. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is I see, and this is where I'm going with the comment right above that one. I mean, because for me, I'm having these different thoughts roll through my head, right? So, like, because I know it's just you and him right now, but if you were to launch another truck, another trailer, whatever it is that you're running, there are two separate price points, right? When we run into a price point, you can say, okay, I can offer you two different prices here. One is for this technician and one is for that technician. I don't know that I would go that direction, by the way.
Right.
But I'm just saying.
You want the sorry guy or you want the good guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when you're throwing out the prices, if you get a price objection, I guess would be the best way to do it. Well, I was going to send out Ray, but being how you're wanting me to reduce my price, I'm going to send out Doug. And I hope he does a good job for you, but yeah, we'll do it for that. And then they'll be like, what? No, okay. Yeah, that is a tough one because to me, I don't want him to cut quality, but at the same time, I get it because nobody cleaned as good as I did. And it's one of the reasons I had to step off the truck as well. Right.
But it's kind of like, well, and maybe it could just be some positivity coaching in there as well, going, okay, you've washed this wall. Do you believe in yourself? Do you think you did it right? Yes. Then why do you have to wash the wall again?
I never noticed.
If you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you've actually done and doing it the right way, why do you have to go back and do it again?
I never noticed this. I'm going to bring it up. But so my shirt was sitting there kind of like this. Instead of spray wash, it's pray wash. I never noticed that before. I don't know why. Anyhow, I just had to bring that up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I always wanted to charge a premium price for a premium service crew. Did a great job. Sometimes I feel it took longer. Yeah,
I always felt that way.
And I think part of that is also being comfortable. Two things. It's one, being comfortable with your quality of service, that your ability and your skills. If you know that you can get out there and you can coat that whole side of the house spraying the way that you spray, then you don't necessarily have to spray it 2 or 3 times because that you've coated it and you've rinsed it down right.
I can tell you this, that like for us, there's a lot of times where, and I would say the vast majority of the time, so part of my job as an owner and salesperson was to sell as much as I could at that one particular house. So the guys are there for that one job for that day. Okay. So it's pretty rare that my guys would jump around from job to job to job, right? They might go out and that truck has got to make $1,500 for the day, but they make it at that one house. And so I again, not knowing average tickets and all that, how many jobs you've got to do in a day. But for us, it really didn't matter as much as well, because if they took longer, and some of the guys are on a day rate, so it didn't matter there as well. And, homeowners, if you're there a long time, are like, man, they're really working, and it helped with the referrals and everything else. But all of those different factors have to be looked at before you make decisions in these sorts of things. But again, for us, it was that most of the time they were at one location all day. That's all they were doing. Maybe they would pick up a couple of roof retreats on the way in, that kind of a thing. So, and I got one employee that he's out the door 7 o'clock in the morning. He's usually back in by 2, 3 o'clock. I don't have any employees anymore. Let me back that up. But, he's usually in by 2:33, did an excellent job. People always, praised him and all that kind of stuff. And then another one that would, same type scenario, and he would come rolling in at, 5 o'clock. So, different styles and not knowing your market, your money, that's kind of hard to answer. But give me a call. We'll talk about it.
I would say that
Dave kicking. David Rivas, $69.99 today. Was that before or after fuel, David?
I would say that's a really big problem. If he was impeding, the over perfectionism becomes a massive problem if it's impeding production to get done. I mean, again, I know you said, Sterling, that it's not a clock milking thing. It's not that problem with it,
Right.
Just really is conscientious and wants to do a good job. So, what's the big deal on clock milk? Okay, it may cost you an extra $40 a day or something on there, but it really becomes a problem if it starts impeding production. And I remember one of our students, so to speak, and we talked to them both, Doug, and geez, holy crap, I doubled production. For the first time in my life, I started doing 2 houses in a day because I was always doing 1 house a day. That was my gig. I'm going to do 1 house a day. And it changed his life because, he was able to speed up and then do 2 houses a day. He effectively doubled his income, but, it helped.
And that's the thing, sometimes you take the different aspects of and just talking to somebody else and learning what they do can really help. Again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to pitch the huge convention, because whether you go to the huge convention for the huge convention, or you go to the huge convention for the pre-show, or you go to the huge convention just for the camaraderie, there's so much just in talking to other washers and listening to other washers. It's just amazing what it can do for you, even if you're not part of the actual convention itself. It's just what you talk and listen to, and these kinds of things. That's why, sometimes Ray and I talk, and it's just like we can bring up, and that's why we love all the comments and questions, because it helps everybody when we just kind of bring things around, and you bounce different things. Like even in this case, Ray and I have differing opinions, though we have the same opinion, kind of, going down that realm, depending on which way you're going to go and what you need to do to accomplish. Mr. Finn, hanging out there in the background.
He's just chilling. What you doing, bud? Nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
You got a new race car, really? I want to see it.
Let's say I got my truck going today, real nice.
No, well, you mentioned it. No, I mean, you're like I said, at one point. So, I mean, this is how Doug and I talk like every day, every other day or something. And there's some days it's like where I just get crazy busy, and today was one of those. And we literally, he said, "Hey, can you do a graphic for tonight?" I said, "No, I can't actually. I want, like I literally shut it down. I was like, "No, I'm in," and I sent my picture of what I was working on, and it was rather
quality equipment.
Quality. So Tanya was sick last week and I started getting the sore throat Saturday night, and I'm thinking, but Tanya thought hers was more allergies that turned into bronchitis. And I was thinking, that'd be so weird for me to catch something from her that was, allergies. You just don't catch allergies. And then I remembered why I was feeling bad Saturday. I was in the crawl space for several hours Saturday morning installing my water line, and I'm pretty sure I got a little mold and mildew and nasty things. Yeah,
absolutely.
One a day is on high tickets, but when after a large ticket, we'll hit it. Yep, not to overstretch.
That's really where our roof retreats came in handy as well. You send the guys out and if they're finishing up early enough, they can, on their way back in, hit 2 or 3 roof retreats and just make a bang up day.
Yeah.
Love the retreat.
Million ways to skin a cat. Never met another washer that runs things identical to each other.
Absolutely.
That's very true. I always wondered, there more than one way to skin a cat.
There's really just one way.
I really, well, no, there's one way, and it's my way.
That's right.
I still wonder about the import of that saying. Was there like a the C, like the old the C, the Cat Skinners Association of America, or the, United Association of Mobile Cat Skinners.
Yeah, there you go.
UAMCS. And so
there are so many different directions I can go with that I'm just not going.
There was a was there ever a professional debate that says, "Oh, no, 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 no"?
This
You
is the
start
proper
from
way
the
to skin a
chin
cat.
and go down towards the tail. Oh, absolutely not. You start from the tail, and go up to the chin, or somebody, oh, you do it side. I mean, where did that saying come from? Because was
And,
skinning a cat ever actually a thing in the world?
and then are they saying, well, that depends. Is this a calico or is it a,
It was during I really didn't. Middle age when they skinned and tortured cats. Oh,
uh-huh.
well, that would be a horrible sound.
That would be a horrible sound.
So
Cats when they're in pain. I mean, it's a horrible sound.
you got out of the cats. Doug and I were actually asked to leave the cat skinners cult.
What?
We got out of the cat skinners cult. We were asked to leave the cat skinners
Oh
cult.
yeah.
The UAM.
Cat skinners club. Yeah.
United Mobile Association.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's clear the air here. I mean, you officially resigned, right? Yeah.
Well, I resigned, but then you were kicked out. I resigned, but then I was also voted on in a board of directors thing where I am never eligible to join again. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. See, if I knew that, I had forgotten that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing under duress or anything like that. Yeah. Actually, it was funny for me because I don't know why we're talking about this one, but so the lie to kick me out was one thing, and they said it, and this is what we're going to talk to you about. And then when I sent them something that showed them proof that didn't happen, they waited until the actual phone meeting and they changed it. Well, we're kicking you out for this other reason because the first one wasn't true, and I could prove it. Didn't matter. Well, it's still going to happen either way. It don't matter. Yeah. How about the reality was you were nominated to be a board of directors, and we know that you're going to want to run the place correctly, and we don't want that. Yeah, that's the good reason. Anyhow, I digress.
We're talking about the killing pets, and I was sitting there. Bailey, who y'all saw earlier, my neighbor, came over. Anyway, well, let me get back to the beginning. And I thought it was really, really, really. My neighbor has a rabbit, and one day Bailey shows up at the back porch with my neighbor's rabbit in her mouth. I mean,
oh, wow.
Shaking her little head, and
look, Dad, look what I got.
Yeah, we brought you a present. I was like, wow, this is uncomfortable. What do I do here? And I noticed that they were, not home, and I'm looking at the rabbit, and I'm thinking, okay, I really don't want there to be a huge problem here. But luckily the rabbit wasn't like messed up or anything. So I went in there, I put the little rabbit in the sink, and I washed it down, and I got some hair conditioner,
blow dry it,
cleaned it up. We fluffed it all up, and so I went back over there, and the neighbors weren't home, so I kind of went around to the gate and put it back in the little rabbit hutch that was over there, and just closed the door behind me. And maybe they would think the rabbit kind of died from like a little,
you're admitting this, right?
Heart attack or something, got scared and, kicked off. Because I didn't want them to blame. I didn't want Bailey to get the, moniker of a rabbit killer. And saw him out, in the backyard, like a week later or something over the fence. And we were just messing around talking. And they said, well, I don't know if you heard, but we had a death in the family. And I was like, no, really? No. Shocker. What happened? They said, well, Mr. Cottontail died. And I was like, no, oh my God, what happened? And they're like, well, we don't know, but we came out one day and he was dead. But the weirdest thing is that somebody dug him back up and put him back in his hutch.
You're so full of it.
Oh, I've been waiting for years to actually say that thing live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
seem to actually remember you telling that story once before, and I should have caught it. I didn't, though. I just, yeah.
Yep. All right. So cat scanning. You start at the beginning, finish at the end.
That's it.
There you was, cat juggling. That would make awful sounds too.
You
Yes.
actually got me on that one tonight, Ray. You actually got. I'm sitting there, you're sitting there telling this story for real. I mean, yeah.
Ever tell you my elephant joke?
I don't want to hear it.
You know.
I can't believe you got me on. I cannot believe you got me on that. All right, tell your elephant joke.
So there's a guy that he was on a safari to Africa, and suddenly, he looks up and there was an elephant out, in the Jeep, and the little elephant sitting there, and he's holding his paw to the ground and kind of lightly pawing at the ground. And the guy, he looks at it and realizes the elephant is trumpeting, but it's not like an angry trumpeting. So he goes, he starts slowly walking to the elephant, and as he gets closer, he sees this jagged thorn like that long, hanging out of the elephant's foot. And the guy, he very cautiously walks up to this young bull elephant. And he goes, and the elephant just holds his foot up like that, at him and showing him the thorn. And the guy thinks, man, this elephant could just hurt me. And he takes the thorn and he pulls it out of the elephant's foot. And the elephant just, he trumpets again, and he puts his foot down, shakes his head, and he's kind of pawing at the ground, and his trunk goes up to the guy's, face and is rubbing it. And they had a moment, because he knew that he had helped that elephant, and the elephant knew that he had helped him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 20 years later, the guy's sitting there, and he's in the Cincinnati Zoo, and he's in the elephant house. And suddenly he hears this elephant trumpeting. And looks over, and there's an elephant holding his foot up. And the elephant's just trumpeting. And the guy's like, oh my God, is that elephant's looking at me and holding its foot up? It's been 20 years. They say an elephant never forgets. Could that elephant literally, is that the elephant that got captured out of the wild and brought here? Does this elephant know me? And he's like, I don't know. I've got to find out. That could be the same elephant, and paw. The guy, he looks around and he climbs over the fence and gets into the elephant cage, and he runs up to the elephant, and he throws his arm around the elephant's leg, and he's hugging him, and the elephant takes his trunk and he puts it up around his face and grabs him by the neck and slams him down on the ground. Probably what, the same elephant.
All righty then. Yeah, probably not. All right, back to regularly scheduled programming.
That's gonna be in my stand-up act if I ever do it. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stand-up comedy is not there for us tonight, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Are you kidding? All right, turbo tips for the cats.
There you go.
Okay, all right. So serious question here. My G630 is underperforming. Could my belt make a big difference? I would, and Finn, I was kidding about that elephant. Wasn't really.
Finn's looking in the background going, did the elephant really do that?
So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think by underperforming on there. Oh, nice. I like it. Underperforming because, hey, BB, hope you're doing well, buddy. Long time no see. So underperforming, I mean, that 630 is what, about 3 or 4 horsepower less than
The 690.
The like a 690, which tends to be more the standard on there. And I know that like the 630, we see a lot of 5.5, 6 gallon a minute machines paired with the Mama's calling you, buddy. I love you. I love you so much.
Good night, Finn.
There was a joke that I told you.
Which one? The knock knock? What was it?
Oh, I heard it now.
Oh, okay. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Lion.
Lion who?
Lion.
Lion who?
Oh, lion who lies. I'm sorry. Lion who lies. He thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So anyway, Doug, where was I at? Help me out here. So we were talking about the 630.
The 690, 630.
Yeah, 696, 630. So, depending on, actually changed the pump of my Jig 630 TSF 2121, and it performs, well, hold on, TSF 2021 for an 8 gallon a minute. It performs well. 2023 is an 8, 2021 is the but so the underperforming on there, if it's, you don't feel that it's pumping strong enough, I mean, it could be that there's just too much pump for a 630. And also always check those belts too. I mean, how much slack do you have in it? I mean, if you push down and you're getting 3/4 to an inch of play in the slack of that, then it certainly could be a pretty big deal that the belt is loose on there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say also what's the and then check valves and unloader too, always possible there. Go stand in the corner. It's having a flow issue, is not pressure.
So it has plenty of pressure, just no flow.
Not flow. I mean, that sounds crazy, but I'd check the filters, and I'd also check the filters, check, what size inlet do you have on there? What's feeding the pump? Yeah, if Russ sent it to you, it's the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, David saying it's the low pressure valve. So yeah, you can check that.
So did you see the name on that one? Because I don't see. Oh, well,
just whenever I see the arms, I'm
yeah. I got it in the end because I was like, that's Facebook user me. But then I realized
seeing the lower, the bottom check valves. Make sure you don't have any debris in that. So we had a weird one come in today where guy had just replaced. In fact, it was a rust pump as well that he had gotten like a year and a half ago before I was ever in business. And finally got a new motor today and got one of those new 420s or so Predators, or the bigger new Predator engines, and did a gear drive to it. And just, it was crazy, chattering like crazy, just chatter on a gear drive, not a direct, but a gear. And I said, it's just working the air out. And we cracked all the valves on the pump, and worked the air out that way. And it got better. And we swapped the unloader out. It was still wanting to chatter a little bit. And then when we started force feeding it, it ran just amazing. But pulling from a tank, it wanted to chatter a little bit.
Well, and you're saying here no debris, but it doesn't take much. I mean, you'd be surprised at just how much a little bit of I'm going to use the word dirt, but just debris or anything gets in there and can mess up the check valves or the valves themselves. So it very well could be it, because it doesn't take that much to destroy or to damage the check valves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how old is the machine? And even that doesn't really matter. You can have a brand new machine that has check valve issues. If it's something where you've got debris in the water, maybe you didn't realize, maybe something happened, maybe even like something as simple as a leaf got in there. A leaf typically isn't going to damage it, but it could.
Right. but it could
Could
obstruct it
have
a
got
little
in.
bit. So, you know,
Mhm.
I know it sounds crazy. Oh, did you bring me some milk? You're so awesome. Good night, buddy. I love you. See you in the morning. It's the last.
So it's a new pump on a 4-year-old engine.
The more I'm around pressure washers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm around pressure washers a lot now,
Mm-hmm.
the more I realize I don't know as much about pressure washers as I thought. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you get into the habit of you run them, and
Yep.
when they break, you replace them.
Yep.
That's kind of my problem too. Where like even with some things with the booster pumps and all that kind of stuff, I didn't rebuild very many booster pumps. I didn't rebuild. I rebuilt some pressure pumps. Rebuilt's probably the wrong word. I replaced check valves in the pressure pump, but most of that honestly was on a machine that I bought. So my when I say machine, a ride-on machine, not a regular machine that you would buy. So all of the pressure washer, if I had a problem with it, I just, believe it or not, I replaced it, because I normally didn't have a problem unless it was like an unloader or something to that nature, which you're just replacing a little $200 part and moving on kind of thing. And then with the booster pumps, I know a lot of guys say, well, yeah, but I can rebuild it for $150, where replacing it back then was like $800. I'm like, there's too much money floating through there. I just got to replace it. I had plenty of them on the shelf with the intention to rebuild them, but just never did that. So Bailey.
Look,
She's like, oh no, get me out of there.
do that again, Doug. Okay, look. Oh, she's gone. Gonna get her.
She says,
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird because we see little problems with different pressure washers that get brought in literally all the time. And I mean, there's brand new washers that just come out of the box. Not ours. Ours are obviously perfect, but I mean, I see pump flaws. I see stuff that won't pull. I see things that I've seen the exact same machines that will pull gravity feeding from a tote tank, and I've seen some that 100% will not. You have got to force feed them through, like the same.
where force feeding them is just best.
Yeah, but the same exact pump there.
Hey, and but before I forget, next week, y'all, we're not likely to be on because next weekend is Memorial Weekend, and so next Monday is Memorial Day. So I don't think we're doing anything. I don't think.
Mm-hmm. So it's got a 390, basically the same pump kicking its ass. Yeah, that's really, really bizarre. And so at 390, I mean, that should be, you've got 6 or 7 more horsepower on a 630. It's almost, well, I don't say has to be, but I would sure check that belt issue right there and see if you're
start with that, because that's going to be the cheapest, quickest thing to check.
You can tighten that belt up or something, because I mean, you're right. I mean, if you got a 390 that's performing better than 630, there's something majorly wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you got just way too big of a
belt would have to be super loose, huh?
Yeah, I'd totally trust that. So
the belt would have to be super loose in order. Well, not super loose, but it would have to be pretty loose in order to be causing such a problem.
Oh, good luck.
Drastic.
Motor swap it. Wild West.
You still carry this. So he's talking about an LS motor swap. So I'd like to know what he's swapping it into and out of.
I don't have any Honda engines, or I mean, I carry them on pressure washers. I don't have any spare Honda engines right now. Got some access to the CRX engines and just did a swap out last week for somebody on one of those. Good price on those engines too. I was actually amazed at what a good price.
Which ones? On which engines?
CRX engines.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a Honda clone, better than a Predator, in my opinion. And so the customer came in today, and he's gotten to be a buddy. He's not a professional washer at all. He had bought a used Predator from a buddy, and it blew the oil cap off twice and shot hot oil all over his son. It was just a nightmare to keep it running right. Didn't want to pull fuel. We put this engine on for him on Thursday of last week. He came in today to pick up a couple extra things, and he was like, "Man, I love it." He's like, "I used it all weekend," and again, he's a part-time, weekend warrior guy, but he's like, I love that engine. It just did awesome. So Canadian, eh?
Canadian, eh?
Eh? Good night, buddy.
This was a fun no agenda day.
So hold on. You said you got yours running.
Running sweet too.
Really? So
Yes.
What was it? Was it a distributor cap or what?
I have a feeling it's going to end up being the distributor because there's no real reason for it to be running as sweet as it is. I mean, I ended up, brought the engine top dead center, compression stroke, made sure it was bang right, top dead center, pulled the valve covers off, made sure that intake and exhaust were completely closed, could spin the oil rods, and I'm like, okay, that's that. So then I went over to the distributor, made sure it was pointing dead set. I turned the carburetor, the idle screws all the way in, backed them off 1.5 turns, just because I'm just starting all over again. Just basics, forget about it.
Right.
And got everything just to where I felt it was dialed in, and then didn't want to start. Which is understandable. Got it to start, and then I tuned it by ear. I moved the distributor. I didn't put the timing light on it right away. I just tuned it by ear. And then once I got it to where I felt like I was right, I let it get up nice and hot. And then I just started tuning the carburetor a little bit. The carburetor doesn't do you too much good. The idle mixture screws don't do you after idle, but they help you at idle. So I was trying to get those dialed in, and finally I got the right combination of everything, but it was running too good. So that's why I feel like I'm going to go out there next time and it's going to run like crap. And then that's going to tell me, okay, it's got to be either the ignition module or something's wrong with
the distributor. Yeah.
Because everything else is running great.
Right.
Still burns rubber. That's all I care about.
So is a wash competition a thing?
It shouldn't be.
I don't know. Who are you competing against? You're always competing against yourself.
That's where I'm not sure where the question's going, but I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, if you're trying to compete with somebody else, I mean, or trying to get houses done faster than somebody else, or, I want to do a great job and I want to make great money.
I've been on big dorm projects and large, symmetrical buildings where I've challenged my guys saying, okay, I'll take my butt up here alone in a lift, and you can have, a driver for your lift, and I'm gonna smoke you, that kind of thing.
It's funny because, I mean, I've done that with my guys too, where you like clean and flat concrete. I'll be like, okay, so there's the two of you guys on that side of like in this instance, it's a self-storage facility, and then there's me on this side. We all have the same machines, and let's see who gets more done in a day. And the two of them, going, and we get done about the same amount with two of them versus one of me. Yeah. But here's part of it. And I was just talking about this recently with somebody where, everybody likes to pick a square of concrete. and they clean that square and they rinse that off and then they move on to the next one. Okay. But if you time it the way the sun is coming and not drying everything up, I don't care about that perfect square cut that I'm making. So I'll go further, turn and come back, turn and go, further where they're stopping short. They're cutting their production time down where I'm going out, coming back, going, and then I can rinse a larger section. Sometimes, you've got to pop your gun off and keep everything wet in order to do that. But that would be kind of interesting thing to have. I know that we had at a convention a hose rolling contest. I think.
Yeah, but see, I don't really buy that hose rolling competition because they used all brand new hose from the power wash store, and I told everybody, I was like, no, you want a hose rolling competition?
Get an old hose.
Let's grab some of the hose that are on my rigs,
right sticking out of it, and everything.
Where you wind up donating blood.
Yeah.
Every time you roll that hose off, or roll it up. So,
yeah. I think that would be cool, a field day for washers. Might have to talk to the Huge about that.
A lot of vapor lock issues. That's interesting, Doug.
Yes, that's true. And partly because, and I thought about that, because the spacer between my intake manifold and my carburetor is aluminum. Right. So a lot of the newer fuels, especially that aluminum allows that heat to transfer and boils the fuel inside your carburetor, which can cause those vapor lock issues. So, because I thought, man, if this doesn't do it, then I'm going to, that's one of the thoughts that I had is, hey,
tell us about the truck now, or tell everybody about the truck. I know, but
it's a 78 Ford F100 with a 460 in it. It's orange. It's beautiful. Burns rubber. That's all I care. So there you go.
Did you name it Bell?
I can't remember what I named it, to be honest with you. It wasn't Bell. Roxanne, I think, is what I named it. Roxanne. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And she's got the 2x55 AC.
Oh, nice. 2 windows down, 55 miles an hour. Pretty good breeze coming through.
The air, it actually did come with factory air, but it's not. It's out. So we go just the 2x55. It's actually 4 because you do have the little wing windows that fold in.
So we always got it 240.
Yeah. I'm digging it.
Yeah,
I think yeah, that's not what I was doing.
Oh, goodness. Well, you about ready to wrap it up for the night?
I am ready to wrap it up for the night.
It's been a long one, buddy.
It has. That's her. I don't know if you can see it in there.
Oh, look at that. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's purty. Purdy and burns rubber. That's all I care about. She burns rubber.
Nice. Oh, 76 F-150 or F-100. Mm-hmm.
I kept telling myself I wanted to get myself another old hot rod. By old hot rod, I meant something like a, 67 Firebird, something like that. But, the truck came along and I'm like, booyah, take it.
Mm-hmm.
This camera's been acting funny. Now it's all bright.
You're a little washed out right now. The
washed out or washed up? I don't know who the Facebook user is that said GTO. I've actually, I had a 67 and I had a 65.
I had an Acura Legend.
There you go.
I had a badass Legend. I had the Legend 5-speed, the 2-door coupe Legend with a 5-speed on it. God, that car was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That car was just stupid. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's racist.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
Everything is. Anyhow.
Everything is transist race. Everything is ist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 70 Torino. We get into talking about cars. I'm not leaving. it's different for me too, because I mean, I used to tune engines, and I used to, matter of fact, we had a race car, and I ended up, tuning all the valves basically, and a guy, I can't think of his name anymore. He's like, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. All the money in that engine, and he tuned it by ear. No, and so, he did his thing with it and found out that all of them were just about spot on, except for I had one valve a little too tight. And by a little too tight, it wasn't enough to cause any damage, I don't know that I could do that today, but I mean, it's just simple. You loosen it up until your lifter starts to knock, and then as soon as it stops knocking, you tighten it down a quarter of a turn. It's simple, but that's been a long time ago.
I'm so kidding about the paint. I mean, I know I did not. I'm so not accusing anybody of racist terminology. God knows. I could say Doug's a little bit of a pale face right now.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And I actually could say that though more than most. So, because I got my Indian letter.
Did you?
Yeah, I do. I have gotten a very, very little known fact about me, but I am a member of the Creek Indian Nation. And I have a letter that says that many moons rise, and I make great journey to, but no, I really do. I am official member of the Creek Indian Council. So
cool.
Yeah. Never. We don't have casinos, so it was never really a good fit for me.
Didn't help you any.
Yeah. I don't have an Indian retirement. So, and it was funny because apparently I couldn't really like it ended with me, like, unless I would just marry somebody the same Indian percentage as me, so my children wouldn't have gotten any benefit of it. So, oh man. All right, we're out too. We're now wandering.
We've been wandering for about 20 minutes. But it was good.
It's been a day. Doug, it has been a freaking day. Been fixing equipment in the rain all day, and one of them. Guys, thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all sticking on.
Don't forget, we won't be around.
We will not be here next week.
We're going to try to get Wesley Bloom. He hasn't confirmed. I'd really like to have a conversation with the young man. I think it would be cool. So
y'all remember the reason for Memorial Day next weekend. Not necessarily a happy Memorial Day, but we do get to reap the benefits and rewards of it. So good night. Thank y'all. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. See ya.
Peace.
Oh, Anthony's out there. Hey, Anthony. Bye, Anthony.